네,
Ladies and gentlemen, one housekeeping announcement. The 17th World Ocean Forum 2023 Marine Humanities session will soon begin. I'd like to ask all participants, please use the interpretation receiver if you need to. Channel 3 is Korean and Channel 4 is English. And to minimize interruptions, please silent your phones.
Marine Humanities session will begin shortly. Please take your seats, and we provide simultaneous interpretation for this forum. Channel 3 is Korean and Channel 4 is English. You may use the interpretation receiver on your table. Thank you. 네, 안녕하십니까.
Good afternoon. I am the MC of the Marine Humanities session of the WOF. I am Park Se-won. This Marine Humanities session will look at Kadok Island, which is an island but not an island, a place that is Busan and not Busan. You will be able to familiarize yourselves with the island and the ocean. And there's also the construction of large-scale infrastructure led by the state, such as Kadok-do Port and Kadok-do Airport, and we would like to discuss the need for records and preservation, such as life change and architecture. Before we begin, I'd like to invite President Chang Young-soo of Pukyong National University for opening address. Please welcome President Chang with a big hand.
네, 대단히 반갑습니다.
Good afternoon. In relation to Kadok-do, I hear that you will have a wonderful session ready, and that reminds me of a long time ago when we first went about developing Kadok Island. I know that I was a part of the commissioned report on compensation for losses. I looked around the Kadok Island many times, and I listened to the fishermen there, and I actually visited the place. And crossing the Koga Bridge, I sometimes am reminded of those moments, and I can see that Kadok-do has come a long way. Yesterday we heard from Dr. Rifkin, and one of the key words that really went to my heart was resilience. In nature's resilience, we need to take a keen interest. Nevertheless, with the Kadok-do International Airport Development Plan, what record to write down and what to hand over to the next generation is the key topic that we are pondering on. And that also reminded me of the past, because yesterday the topic was resilience, and today we are here to address the topic of not resilience but development and records and preservation, about handing over our footprint to the next generation. So I have some mixed feelings about the whole topic. Nevertheless, the PKNU's Humanities Korea Plus project group has prepared this session addressing the topic Kadok Past Life, Record and Preservation, which is a very timely topic. Going forward, I hope that we continue to have a balanced approach to development of coexistence and the development itself. In this Marine Humanities session, Kadok's Past Life Record and Preservation invites many presenters and panels. I'd like to thank all of them. including Mr. Cheong Ro, Chairman of the Fisheries Policy Forum of Busan, and Kim Chang-kyung, Head Director of KK-INU, College of Institute for Humanities and Social Sciences. Thank you so much for your hard work. In relation to the ocean, this World Ocean Forum, I think, has grown into a global forum. And in particular, the PKNU Humanities Korea Plus project group, I think, is a very unique group, rare around the world, and offers a very deep insight for the world. I am serving as president of PKNU, and my heart always lies with humanities and social science. And if opportunity allows, I would love to make a presentation. I'm actually learning coding nowadays to prepare for presentations. And during lunch, I had made a mistake. And my chief secretary said that we had a pre-meeting, but I found out that we were being served lunch rather than having a pre-meeting. So after lunch, I had some time left, and I spent some time looking into a coding-related book for big data analysis. So that's just to share that I continue to learn. And in that sense, in humanities, I think that oceans and fisheries, along with advanced technologies, need to think of how to progress into the future. And I hope that you have the same understanding. And I hope that I can meet you again soon as a presenter. And to that end, I will continue to work hard. And I hope you have a fruitful session. And thank you for your hard work. Thank you very much. Thank you, President Chang. As mentioned, I hope that the panel discussion can present a humanities perspective of solution to Kadok Island. And now we will start the Marine Humanities session with the topic Kadok, Past Life Record and Preservation. And as the moderator, I'd like to invite Head Director of PKNU Humanities Korea Plus Project Group, Mr. Kim Chang-kyung. Good afternoon. And now we will begin the Marine Humanities session on the topic Kadok Past Life Record and Preservation. I am the moderator, Kim Chang-kyung, head of the Humanities Korea Plus Project Group at PKNU. First of all, I would like to thank all presenters and participants joining us in person and online for taking the time out of their busy schedules to join us. Kadok Island is actually quite famous for catching Kadok cod, which was used as a military base during the Japanese colonial period. And traces of batteries still remain, and the Kadok cod was submitted to the king for his diet. This forum aims to induce citizens' interest in the sea through a humanities introduction to the sea and Kadok-do Island, connect the construction of the new airport to the ocean to inform citizens, and provide an opportunity to make the island and the sea familiar. Through the history of residents whose lives have been frequently transformed due to the construction of large-scale infrastructure led by the state, such as Kadok-do Port and Kadok-do Airport, we would like to discuss the need for records and preservation, such as life change and architecture. In other words, Kadok-do is both an island and not an island, a part of Busan and not a part of Busan. So through large infrastructure such as new airports, we will inevitably suffer losses. traditional culture, life of residents, their historic relics need to be re-examined, and at the same time we need to look for a way forward for coexistence and in harmony. So what is the path for coexistence? So these are some of the questions we would like to address in this session. So for the first presenter, I would like to invite Mr. Cheong Ro, Chairman of the Fisheries Policy Forum of Busan.
유청로 명예교수님께서는 이주홍 문학재단 이사장, 부산 수산정책포럼.
He is the director of the Busan Fisheries Policy Forum, and he has been making huge contribution to fisheries and also led some of the discussion fora for the humanities and the fisheries fields. The theme of his presentation is the life of fishermen in Kadok. Well, it is my big regret that I can only give you 13 to 15 minutes for your presentation, even though I want to give you much longer time. Please welcome Director Cheong Ro with a big round of applause.
예, 반갑습니다.
Good afternoon.
평...
I taught at Pukyong National University, and I am the director of the Busan Fisheries Policy Forum. Well, it's a short time that I'm given, but anyway, I think I'll have to share with you some history so that I can give you the big picture for you to better understand. Well, I studied fisheries at Busan Fisheries University, and I also boarded the ocean-going ships for about a year. And then I changed my mind to study maritime physics, and I earned my master's. And I studied abroad in Osaka, Japan, and I changed my major to ocean studies. And when I came back to Korea, including the Busan new airport, I returned to Korea as a young professor. And at the time, we didn't have proper port engineering professionals. So I was lucky, given that at the time we didn't have many professionals. Construction of embankments is my major field. And at the time, the Association of Civil Engineering of Korea wanted to have a professional to give a special lecture. And at the time, I gave a lecture about eco-friendly ecosystem, and one of the old professors at the time thought that I was crazy because I was using all kinds of these terms like eco-friendly and ecosystem and so on. And this old professor was very aggressive. And at the time, what I said was, maybe it was a bit different in your time, but I believe all the polluted water that goes into the sea is something that we need to discuss. So that will be what I'll be dealing with. So even though these old professors did have valid points, well, I shared my idea saying that these are the ambitions that I have going forward. By the time I retired, I retired back in 2018, and this ecosystem issue became a big buzzword. And for all maritime constructions, resiliency has become a big word. For all the structures that go into the oceans, have to have a positive discussion with maritime ecosystem. That's my belief. Well, I do not come from a humanities background, but I believe that we could use some more input from the humanities experts. Well, you can find a lot of detail in my booklet, but it's like I'm sharing with you the big topic. Well, some of the English you see is not quite English-like. So you can see the name of the fish caught and the code's histories in Kadokdo. So that's just for your reference. And the title of the presentation doesn't quite match what's described in the document, so you can see on the slide the title is slightly different. And in this area, Kadok, please switch to the next slide. Excuse me, I'll have to do it myself. So what I want to focus on is, well, if you look at the last line, using the symbolic brand of code in Kadok, I'd like to come up with some action strategies. Well, I don't have a laser pointer, but anyway, in the middle of the slide, represented in blue, it talks about blue ports, blue airports, and blue military ports. So the birthplace of the military port, we have Jinhae, we have the new port, we have the new airport coming, and we have the traditional port. So we have all kinds of ports. So basically it's a strait of ports. Within the 10 kilometers radius, we have concentrated ports. What shall we do with this concentration? Well, it can be good to have such a concentration because we can maximize the effect. Next one about the Kadok New Airport. Creating an airport in Busan might be not quite suitable. Well, given the fact that we have lots of airports in Korea, because many people in Korea tend to think that we can only have major airports just in Seoul. So it's not always easy to come up with rationales to have airports in Busan. And in southeastern part of Korea, we have issues that we need to resolve. And I was serving as one of the members of this committee for attracting the airport to Busan area. And even though I worked really hard, my efforts were not always received well. So here, what's in red is how Kadok code can be utilized as a symbolic brand. And using the humanities imagination, what kind of airport do we need? And what does the airport look like? And will it be sufficient to have the airport and that's it? Well, building an airport in Busan, as Korea is focused on developing the metropolitan area only, it's not always easy. And with this opportunity of having this airport in Busan, well, we believe that this is the sole way for our survival. So it's about technological innovation and urban innovation unless we secure urban and local innovation, we wouldn't have a bright future for Korea. So it is in that respect that we want to apply this imagination, humanities imagination, to this small port in Busan. So the realization of this small value can be represented with this brand Kadok code. But before that, we have to think about technicians and what would be the missions of these technicians. And in a broader sense, what would be the missions of the scientists? If you think about all the facilities and development efforts, well, it seems like these are the efforts of engineers and technicians. But if you look deeper into it, there is philosophical consideration that goes into these efforts behind all this. Technicians are required to do what they were required to do. And they turn to all the knowledge, common sense, and know-how to build airports and houses. And to build a right airport that doesn't have any problems, well, that would be the job of humanities experts. This is a quick example of Osaka. When I was involved in planning of this Osaka airport, I was very much interested in this project. And one of my colleagues were involved in this project as well, in building the infrastructure. So there were lots of philosophical thoughts that went into this project, and it was certified and awarded by the Civil Engineering Association of Japan. So when we try to find an answer to the question of what do we do with Kadok Airport, well, I believe that Kansai International Airport can provide us with a great insight. I want to skip over all the detail, but regarding the spatial function of Kadok, how it changes and leads to conflicts, well, we're bound to have these conflicts because we have outsiders that come into this area and they want to use different technologies. It's not just leisure or sports, but we have outsiders representing many other fields. And the sea is the common asset, and we want to use this to meet the needs of different parties. So using this brand of Kadok code, how can you develop this into something that represents the traditional and future values? Then how many codes do we have? We have Pacific and Atlantic codes. In the case of Kadok code, this is one of the few brands that has a long history. And the Atlantic cod actually caused war in history, and in the Americas, in the fishing grounds, there were lots of conflicts around the cods. This is the story of Kadok cod, and you can refer to this story in the booklet. So we have this pollock from the East Sea and cod from the South Sea. And for pollocks, they lost their brand power, but still cods are quite popular, and they still have a strong brand power. And the Atlantic cod story is also what you can refer to in the booklet. This Atlantic cod has a big community. And in the northern part of the Atlantic, they come in flocks. So when you catch them, you can actually have a huge catch. But in Korea, when we actually fish cods, we can catch different species. So these are different ways of consuming these cods. And this led to the annual sales, annual revenue of 1 trillion won from this small port, small village. So cods as fisheries and also developing some of the functional properties and materials, this led to huge economic contribution. So from $50 to $1,500, it creates added value. And regarding the Kado cod, how can we expand the value of Kado cod? We catch cods when the taste reaches its peak in Jinhae Bay. We catch cods in the EC, but Pohang cod, cods that are caught in Pohang area, do not really taste as good as what we get from Kado. And another thing that's good is in order to store Kado cods, well, we have this contaminated water discharge issue. And the government is working on building up the infrastructure. So this shows the infrastructure that we can turn to, and this is about increasing the brand value of Kado cods. And also, this is about the blue economics and blue technomy. And I presented this blue port project, how we can pursue this along with many other ports. And in building the new airport, around conserving the cods, I also presented how we can secure soft power systems. Technicians and humanities experts in the construction phase can work together. For instance, we can create a roundtable session so that we can sit down and talk about development technologies and strategies. And how can we strengthen discussions? Let's say that the budget for the project is 10 trillion. And we can start with 100 million or 100 billion. And by gathering all the relevant technicians and experts to talk about innovation of cities and also attracting youths so that we can build an airport serving as the innovation hub. So we will need such a forum or roundtable so that we can have more full-fledged discussion. So given the time I have, I believe that you can refer to my booklet, and with that, I'd like to conclude my presentation. Thank you very much. Well, that was about local innovation around an airport and how humanities' value can be reflected in this process. So this is a small example of Kado cod. And this shows how the name of a place can be used as a brand for fish.